hear me now? Let's see as people are jumping in here. And let me pull it up on my device too, that way I can make sure if we have sound. Checking, 1, 2, 3. Let me pull it up here. Yes, you guys can hear me now? Great. Loud and clear. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. So guys, welcome in today. We have a special guest, Adam from Andover. Now let me give you a little bit of background before we dive on into this. We had a relationship with Andover maybe 6-ish years ago, and we kind of fell in and out of touch over a number of years, and now they're back. And so we're going to see more edited Satar. We're going to see more things than we've ever done here at So we're super excited about that. In addition to that, we are going to see kind of the new version of Andover, because there's lots of changes that have happened there as well, which we're going to be getting into today. So it's going to be a fun event. Any questions before we get started? Just making sure that all of our camera stuff is all set up right. Any questions for me before we go ahead and get started? Love the quote behind me. Guys, this is actually Club Day, which is on Saturday. We're going to have this. People are saying the audio's low. Let me see if I can fix that. How about now, guys? Is that better? Is that audio better? If not, I've got one more button I can test. Give me 1 second. How's that? Is that better? I have you on max volume and can barely hear. Let me just double check. Much better? Okay. We're learning all the buttons still with the new system, so sorry, it's going to take us 1 second to work out the kinks. But any questions for me before we go ahead and get started with Adam today? So I'll be able to switch the screen over here in just 1 second. It's better now. Awesome. Beautiful quote behind me. And what I was saying about the quote behind me is that our club day, we're going to show you the demo that involves this, but also we have that quilt available for purchase on Saturday as well. So it's going to be awesome. So guys, without further ado, I'm going to be switching everything over to a screen where it's both me and Adam. And we're going to get this thing rolling here. Let's move this. Sorry, gotta get this into frame. Ooh. So guys, I hope that you can now see me and Adam at the same time, making sure that's working.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
No.
Oh. Let me see if I can fix that. How about now?
Oh, now I can.
Oh, perfect. So guys, without further ado, this is Adam. Adam, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for me?
Yeah, so my name's Adam Weinstein. I'm president of Andover Fabrics. We are it's hard to keep count. We're definitely over a 100-year-old fabric company, family owned this entire time. I'm the 4th generation. And yeah, basically what we seek to do is just put people in the best position to, make beautiful things with fabric, especially quilts. And so it's really nice to be joining you guys today.
Well, for some reason, I feel like I didn't know that. So you guys are a 100-year-old company. I knew that.
Yeah.
But you're 4 generations. So original owner, 4 generations down.
Yeah, so I can actually, if you want to see something,
yeah, let's see it.
Office. All right, so this guy, this dude over here. This guy's name was Max Weinstein. I never met him. So he was my just great-grandfather, right?
Okay.
So he started the business back in 1920 in the Flatiron Building in New York City, which is actually just like a 15-minute walk from here, I guess depending on how fast you walk.
Right.
And at the time, it was just a corduroy company. We just made corduroy, and it wasn't until my grandfather, Alvin, took over the business and it became Concord Fabrics. It grew into one of the biggest textile companies in in the U.S. And so, yeah, pretty interesting stuff.
That would have been at a time then when textiles were made U.S. made.
Yeah, so we operated mills in California and South Carolina. I mean, of course, this is before my time. By the time that I came around, pretty much everything had gone overseas. So I never really got to see that myself. I've only heard
stories, right?
Stories about it, yeah.
Yeah, because it was, 1986, 1987 when they closed the last fabric mill, the U.S. fabric mill? I believe it was
It must have been something around there. I mean, granted, so I was born in 89.
Gotcha.
And so there was a massive shift right as as I was entering the world in terms of textile production, where it's happening, and who the players were. So interesting stuff. I just I get it all secondhand.
Well, we've got some questions here, and some of the things that we're talking about already are part of those questions. So first and foremost, Andover, 100-year-old company. Now, you have been president of the company for how long now?
Yeah, all of since October, so maybe coming up on 3 months now. So it's new, yeah.
So just how it works with Andover, right? It went from great-grandfather to son. Now you're the fourth generation, which is, it's crazy, right? It's actually a true legacy in the industry. We recently, in the last year or so, purchased Scrap Apple Quilting, right? Which then automatically on paper makes us a 25-year-old company because they have that longevity. But it's a little different in your guys' case because it's actually true from the original owner to now of the actual family business, which is amazing. So with that being said, though, over time things have changed in Andover, mills change, all that kind of stuff. One thing that we've gotten lots of comments on is you guys have incredible goods. They're always top-notch quality. They're always a good product. How hard is it to keep that consistency?
Yeah, it's really hard because, even if you're working with the same suppliers, those suppliers change. The overall landscape changes. And the most important thing, I think, is what people who are actually quilting with the fabric, what they want changes too. And so a lot of the difficult part of it is making sure that we don't compromise on our quality, right? And by the way, that's not just the quality of the material of the fabric, but also, the quality of the people that we're working with. We have really, really talented designers, really talented people that we work with who license their artwork to us, people who are talented working here. So it's keeping all the pieces working together. That's the challenging thing, but it's fun.
Well, and too, there has to be at some level, because most of your guys' goods are coming out of Korea, correct? Just like everywhere else.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, Korea is a big player. We find that a lot of our partners there are making incredible quality fabric, and they have a tradition of doing that. Yeah.
Well, that has to be difficult in the sense of not only is there quality and having to understand quality, is it hard to with the language barrier? Is there what you're saying is not actually what is being understood?
I think that in general, it's gotten a lot easier over the course of the last several decades, right? I mean, in so many ways, and you guys are actually a great example of that. Like, the internet has brought understanding amongst people from all over the world, and regardless of what your first language is, closer and closer together. So now, I mean, granted, I was over in Korea just about a month ago, checking in with the partners there, making sure that we have, really good understanding of what our expectations are heading into next year. I think, long story short, while the internet has made it easier for you to find good partners to work with and to, you're on all kinds of emails and messages over the course of the night, even you're working 24/7 sometimes to get this right.
Yeah.
But on top of that, there's still, because we do work in person, because we have a face-to-face with our partners, regardless of where they are, it's a combination of those two things that makes it doable.
And I also think at some level it is business being business, right? Like,
Yeah.
Your suppliers want to make sure that they're performing at a level suitable for what they do. You want to make sure that everything's good in your business as well. Now, with that, you have some really heavy-hitting names in your business as far as designers go. Edita Sitar being one of them. You also have a Juicy Juice. Let's see, Allison Glass. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Allison Glass.
Libs Elliott. I could go on and also we're adding more and more really talented people to our team. At this point, pretty much every week.
Yeah.
It's a real privilege. I think being able to work with such talented people and people who have very different, diverse, like some people, these are reproduction fabrics, where the documents are coming from the 19th century, right? And some designers are more avant-garde, more experimental, they're doing things in, I don't know if you've seen the way that Libs Elliott designs her fabric, but a lot of it is, basically taking computer-generated images and then applying the human touch to those things. It's really cool. That's one of my favorite things of working working at Andover Fabrics. You get to see such a it's all quilting fabric at the end of the day, and it all has to be quality, but how we get to that final fabric that everyone gets to enjoy, it's so wild how different it is.
Well, and everyone designs differently, right? Like you're talking about Liv, is that she's a digital artist, right? She's in the digital realm. But then you have designers. I want to say Edita is still true to actual drawing, isn't she? She's still a artist in that sense. And then you have pigment people, and then you have one of your competitors, a designer as well, is Marcia Dursey. Like she is kind of that splatter all over the place look, and everyone has their vibe, which is a whole different world that we're bringing into our quilting industry, which is awesome, right?
Yeah. And to build upon that, by the way, real quick, I think one of the things that's really special about the fabric and quilting world in general is, it sounds like a cliche to say it, but it really is a patchwork industry. And so, obviously we're all trying to compete here, right? We're all trying to do the best for, to basically do the best for our customers and, get a bigger piece of the pie. What's really special about this industry, though, is that we realize, not everyone is going to be quilting with Andover Fabrics. There's a lot of really good companies that make great fabrics the same way that, there's a lot of different quilt stores, right? It's just that I think that competition makes us all better. I think that the strive to produce something that's really special and that'll last the test of time, I think that's something that makes all of us better. So I don't know if you enjoy. It seems like you guys enjoy it. I know we do.
Well, and that's also just part of the industry. Like we, as you know, we have a store up in Alaska, we have a store in Utah, and we have a store here. And how drastic not only the quilt stores change, right? Like in Utah, we're pretty much a brown store, right? All the Civil War type stuff. In Alaska, crazy thing about Alaskans, and if there's Alaskans on today, nothing against you guys by any means, but crazy thing to us here is that they buy like animal prints, right? And here in Las Vegas, it's exactly backwards. Like we don't have any color in our valley, so we do really bright and bold colors. So everyone has their reason, but in addition to that, they're also like sub-communities of our great nation, right? Of that Utah people are different than Vegas people who are different than Alaskans, right? All loving the same craft, obviously, just we have different preferences, which is what makes it so awesome. And with that, though, with all these amazing designs and all that, in your opinion, what was the best line of Andover 2024? That way we kind of know what to be looking for 25, of like, if you had one that just killed it, we got it.
It's tough. Here's the thing, right? It really depends who you are, right?
Yeah.
Because again, like if you are one of those people who wants a more traditional fabric, then your answer is going to be it's just going to be different, right? Like if you're looking for bright poppy color, then you're probably looking at Allison Glass, Juicy Juice, Libs Elliott, Judy Jarvie.
For me, those are like in Andover's realm, those are my top picks. For
yeah,
sure.
Right. But that's what makes it special, right? Because at the same time, you have people who are working with those traditional designs. Obviously Edita Sitar, you've got Renee Nanaman, we've got Max and Louise. Like again, I could go on and on. I think that my favorite part of my job, because prior to becoming president, my job was to essentially, lead our sales division.
Yeah.
So the biggest privilege I had was to get to go all over the U.S. and internationally as well, but especially within the U.S., it's exactly like you're saying. I mean, you would go to parts of Texas and you're going to get a completely different reaction to what your new fabrics are than if you go to the Pacific Northwest or if you're up in the Northeast. I mean, it's really interesting.
That brings a really good question, though, here, in that, do you guys, I'm sure the answer is no, but do you guys, like, spot check your designs in the sense of, like, if you're coming out with a woodland design, do you just send that to Montana and those states? Like, are you filtering your lines based off geographics?
To a certain extent, yes. I mean, let me put it this way.
I mean, is a sales rep in California going to get everything that the sales rep in Florida does, or is that their job to separate what doesn't sell?
So the sales reps will know their customers well. I mean, obviously, everyone's only got so much time in a day now, and so every sales rep is going to kind of cherry pick. Hey, I know what Tianping likes, so I'm going to show him this first and foremost. Like, he likes the brighter fabrics. Like, I'm going to make sure that he sees these, right? But I think what's nice is that there's kind of been like a democratization of the fabric industry. Like now, yes, the sales reps are doing their thing, and we have a great team. What we also have, though, is, we've got more and more presence online. We do, these digital catalogs, which, by the way, everyone can see these. I've got physical copies of this here, but if you go onto our website, you can see not only the, what's coming up next in terms of our fabric patterns, but also quilt patterns as well.
Well, and I think what's nice. I also think that people don't realize so all this information is to the public. Like, you can go on Andover.com, or is it AndoverFabrics.com?
AndoverFabrics.com, yeah.
And look at next year's stuff. You can totally do that, and it's the same thing that I do to buy it. Like, there's no secret, like, oh, here's the goods, right? Like, it is transparent 100%, but keep going there.
No, I mean, you can get hyped about things. You can get really excited about what your next, quilt project, what you're going to make out of. You can plan in advance here, and I think that's important. Everyone's got only so much time and only so much energy to spend on a given thing. I mean, I know you especially feel that way. I mean, and I'm about to have. I was actually worried earlier today that I was going to get a call that I couldn't come and do this talk with you because my wife and I were expecting our second kid like any day now, and so there's a moment where I'm like, okay, we're not going today.
Well, getting into that side of it too, because that's a real thing for us, right? I've got 4 kids myself. All my siblings have kids as well. In the sense of, you're a technically family-run company. Probably still ends up in the small business category at some extent because it's still a small, tight-knit amount of people. And then you have family and all that. How much of that is just like a blur? Like, you come to work and then you see your family, and then you go home and you see your family, and like, how does that shake out at Andover?
So, I mean, actually it's funny you say that. So yesterday we were all over at my parents' place, and we have a tradition of doing a New Year's brunch. So we got all together. My cousins all live in the city. Like, you can't tell because I got the window closed and the view from my office isn't amazing, but we're 3 blocks from Times Square.
Gotcha.
Legitimately, it was hard to get to our office a couple of days ago because they wanted to block all of it off for New Year's Eve up there. But we get to see each other in almost 2 different ways. You have those really nice family get-togethers, and we're lucky enough that my grandparents also live, a 10-minute walk from me.
Gotcha.
My parents live a 10-minute walk from me. But then, my my mom, my brother, my dad, so that's my entire immediate family. I see them every single day in this office.
Yeah.
So I'll say at times it's not so easy. There's plenty of moments where you just think to yourself, I don't want to talk business right now.
Right.
I just want to talk to my mom. I just want to talk to my dad, right? I know you probably feel that as well. Yeah. But it's good. I mean, it's honestly, it's such a blessing, right? Because what you really do get is you get to spend a lot of really quality moments. Like, even if we're just trying to go out and get something to eat, right? Even, you get to spend a lot of really quality moments that most people don't.
Yeah.
And it's I can't tell you how fortunate I feel for that.
Well, and there has to be a sense, because people that I hear a lot of times, like, I don't know how you guys do it, like work with your siblings all the time and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And the honest truth with it is that you have to have, this is work and this is family. Like, those are separate people almost at some level, because, like, I don't know how many times this actually happened. This was a number of years back. We came to a family dinner, and it was just me and my brother at that time that were working the business side of this, and we were at each other's throats at that point, right? Like, we were just so done with it. Because that's part of it, that's part of business, of just working with people in general. And I remember me and Brody were sitting down at the dinner table, everyone was eating, and we, turn off the work life, and Lady, his wife's name is Lady, she's like, so how was your guys' day at work? And we just started dying laughing. It's like, what you guys don't know is that we're at each other's throat come tomorrow morning, like we're so it's a good way to decompress too, because, like, we're still family and we're still all those things, but it's family businesses. It's a different world.
It's a whole different animal. And I mean, I really fought against joining this business initially, actually. Like, when I was a kid, I would come into the office and file paper.
Oh, yeah.
I would do billing when I was in high school, and it wasn't that I didn't appreciate the business. It was just that I wanted to do my own thing.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to. And what changed though is that I at one point had a small startup, and I got absolutely crushed.
Right.
Like, I got absolutely crushed, and I was looking for a different job, and at the time my folks said to me, well, we could use your help in the family business. And for a little bit I said, okay, let's try this out, let's see what we can do. What I found out was, working with my family and working in this industry with the people that we get to work with on a day in, day out business was so fulfilling in a way that I'd never really experienced before. I worked a couple of different jobs before this. And so, I mean, yeah, it has its moments, sure, where you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, like, this is a lot to deal with, and it's hard to compartmentalize, like you're saying. Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, the juice is absolutely worth the squeeze. It's a lot of fun.
Well, and it becomes life, right? Like, when I got married to my wife, I had to explain to her, like, I'm a workaholic. That's just a given. That's how I am. But also, this is just life. Like, it's also different in the sense of, like, you can go to Korea with your family, and that's work. Because you can go do those things, and you can go to Texas for a quilt market as a family, and that's work. There's more to it than just that. Now, obviously, you're a family business, family man, with this amazing company here. Where do you see 2025 going for Andover? Are we going to see what's the news?
Well, this is a really exciting year in a million ways. So, I mean, I know we were talking about the website before, AndoverFabrics.com. If you had to ask me one thing that I want to change about this company, it is our website. Yeah. It was great when we first launched it, but the website is just one of many things that we're going to be seriously upgrading this year. The way that I think about Andover Fabrics at the moment is it's almost kind of like it's a great house. The bones are incredible. The institute, in our case, like, the knowledge base that's here, the talent that's here is incredible. It just needs some renovation, right? Yeah. It just needs, like, it needs you to put in some new pipes. It needs you to put in, like, some good internet. It needs you to, and so that's really what this year is for us. We have the makings of just such an incredible place where how do I put this? We have the talent here. It's just going to be a matter of enabling that talent to do more. So last year,
getting it to market, right? Like, and getting that talent to market, like that's awesome.
Exactly. Well, and one thing that you guys do, and I mean, obviously, you've been crushing it for forever now.
We're trying. We're trying.
Yeah, like the way that people get to know you guys on social media and on YouTube especially it's amazing. And I think that you guys, you tell your story so well. There's a reason, and it also helps. You have to be likable people in order,
right.
In order for that to work, right? So one of the things that I think that we are really going to be doing a little bit more starting in 2025 is telling our story a little bit better, not just about the people who work at Andover Fabrics and about the whole team, where they come from, but also like what goes into their artwork, like what was the inspiration for these collections, and kind of give you a better feel for what's gone into it. That's what we are going to really be focusing on this year.
With that too is just like I can't remember where this quote was from, but it says, "Don't make a story tell." It says, "Don't make a story, tell a story." Is that I see a lot of times, especially because like we understand that connections with something sell better. Now, to everyone out there in YouTube, they're like, "What?" No, like if you love farm life and the story about the new collection is from somebody who lives on a farm, you resonate with it a little bit more, and you're like, I understand where this person's coming from. I understand why it's this kind of cow instead of this kind of cow. All those reasons, right? But what we've seen too recently in the industry of like they're making up the story, it's like, so as I was on the farm, I'm like, you're from New York, like there's not, you're not on a farm, like, oh, it's when I visited my aunt. It's like, no, tell that story of when you visited your aunt, you got inspired to make a collection. And I think Andover's always done a good job about telling the story, how the story is, which is great, and it's now just getting that further out.
And we appreciate that so much. I mean, honestly, I will say one of the biggest challenges running a fabric company, especially a quilt fabric company out of New York City, there's not a lot of people who quilt here. I mean, it's just not easy to do it because, first of all, there's within the city limits, not a lot of quilt shops. There's not a lot of places where you're going to.
I think you guys have what, 3 there? I think it's 3 quilt stores in New York.
Yeah. Well, and to be honest, it's really difficult to run a fabric store, quilt store in New York City because you need space, and it's not just the space to show off the fabrics, but if you want to sew or if you want to make a quilt, that takes room. And I've got to tell you, where we don't have enough room just for the 2 soon to be 2 kids, my wife and I, that alone, there's no place to keep anything. We're just panicked about like where are we gonna fit the kid.
This is a true story. We were in someone else's warehouse, not gonna say who it was here, but we're in someone else's warehouse, and they gave us some tables to work off of, and we're doing our thing, that and the other. And I took, like I always do, I took a Sharpie marker and I was starting to write out what I needed and how I needed things cut on the table, right? Because that's how we operate. And I could see the look on their face of like, oh, crap. I was like, what's up, guys? And they're like, we rented these tables. Like, why would you rent these tables? But it's exactly that. There's not space in New York and all those surrounding areas, and that's just how it works there, right? You can rent things that we don't rent here. Like it was never even a thought to me, like it's a different world.
It's
for
a whole
sure.
different world. Well, my wife and my in-laws are all from Arizona, and so again, that's another place where now, granted, it's hot.
Yeah,
I mean, it's definitely hot. So, but there's room, there's space there. You know what I mean? And so, I think the best thing about New York is the fact that it's so easy to get other places from New York. And I think more recently that's something that we're really tapping into. I mean, we are so fortunate to be in the U.S. I mean, there's just no other way to say it.
My father has always said, if you were born here, you won the lottery.
Yeah.
Like, it's just what it is.
because the thing is that the U.S. is so many different things, so many different places. You know, you can go one day be in the desert, the next day in the middle of New York City, the next day, you know, you're in the mountains. I mean, and from a people perspective, there's also that too. I think there's so much that we are, again, like, we're so fortunate that we get to see all these different backgrounds in this country. And so one of the things that I love is whether I was in Iowa early last year, like I said, I was in Texas. It's actually hard to keep track of all the places that we are. It's not just being able to see the fabrics being made into these quilts, into these really cherished things, these cherished items, but it's also seeing the environment where they were made, right? And seeing this is the Pacific Northwest. This has a certain feel to it that, it'd be different from a quilt made in Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that. I mean, it just makes it, there's never a day that you're not seeing something where you're saying, wow, that's really different. That's really cool.
And the knowledge that comes behind it. So for me personally, I'm not a college grad. I'm not that kind of person. I failed college, not the other way around. And I was always an entrepreneur. So I couldn't sit in class and all that kind of jazz. But whole different story there. But I am a big believer in knowledge. I think everyone should look for knowledge, and everyone should try to acquire knowledge. And this industry, you can't go a day without learning something new if you're active in the industry, because something new is coming out, new techniques coming out. And the craziest part about it for me is, like, this is a cajillion-year-old craft, right? Like, it's so old, and yet we're learning every single day. Because in reality, it's what you said. It's a patchwork industry. It's not just quilting. You have quilting, bags, art, all the different forms of art. Like what's his name? Jim Shore. He's a Benartex designer. He makes the actual figurines, like, out of clay.
That's awesome.
And then puts it on fabric. So it's like,
that's so cool.
Now you're talking about the clay arts also being in our industry. It really is a patchwork industry. But I've got a couple of rapid fire questions here for you. In addition to that, I'm going to ask the chat here, anyone who's watching right now. If you have any questions, put them in there. If we have time to get through them, we'll ask those as well. So just a couple rapid fire questions. And like you said, everyone is always pressed for time, so we don't want to take up your whole day here. First one is favorite color.
Oh, blue?
Blue
and orange.
Okay.
Mix, man.
Favorite color, blue and orange. Now, are you if you had to pick a fabric type, are you a cotton, batik, wool, or flannel guy?
Oh, man. At this time of year, maybe flannel, because it's a little cold. But normally cotton, I'd say, yeah.
Are we going to see Minky in Andover's future?
Ooh. Okay, stay tuned. I can't give anything away, but stay tuned, yeah.
Well, I guess the question could be rephrased. Are we going to see other substrates? Canvases, rayons, batiks?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is a year where we're expanding what our offering is.
No.
I don't want to give too much away, but yeah, stay tuned, yeah.
We had one of these in the recent months, and I asked the person the question, and they said it, and then you could tell that they were like, oh crap, I should have said that one. Like, giving out the secret sauce.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you going to be doing any... So, are you doing any more public-facing shows this year? So, like, there's H&H, there's Quilt Market, the big ones. But are you guys going to be going to more of the domestic shows nationwide?
So, we're looking into that for 2026. I think what we have to figure out, maybe people don't realize this, we're not such a big firm. Like, I think maybe in this New York office, there's, maybe at a given time, 19 people.
Yeah.
That's it. So the problem that we run into when it comes to these shows is, it's not that many people. If everyone has to get on the road, be in a hotel, be out of office, then those are the same people that we rely upon to get the next artwork done, to make sure that we're fulfilling orders and everything. And so, long story short, we're looking into it for 2026, but I don't want to how do I put this? I don't want to sacrifice the quality of what we're getting out there for you guys in order to, just to be at one show. Not that we don't want to, but we want to prioritize.
Well, and this is the last one on my list here, and then we'll go to a couple from the chat here. And this one's kind of a sensitive topic, right? In the sense of, do you feel like, because I know from our experience, right? This question from us,
Sure.
in the form of like nepotism, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel that viewpoint on you from the outside world of like, oh yeah, you're owner's son?
Oh yeah, and I think they should. I mean, I think, look, that's actually the biggest reason why I didn't want to be a part of this business initially. That's why I fought against things so hard, because I think that you should have to work hard. You should have to understand your craft, right? And, and understand what's expected of you. And so if anything, that's part of the reason I feel the pressure that I do. Like, obviously you want to succeed, right?
Yeah.
But you also have to prove to people that you're not just there because you were someone's son, right? Or someone's daughter, or whatever.
We have
I don't know. I feel that.
We have a saying here in our company that nepotism will get you a job, but it won't keep one. You know, because it's, and I'm sure it's happened over the last 100 years in your guys' company as well, of like, we've let go aunts, uncles, cousins, and it's awkward, you know? I mean, being on this side of it, we can separate business from family, but most of the time when you have to let somebody go, they don't separate business and family anymore, you know? And so it's a hard one. A couple of questions here from the chat. Do you think that manufacturing will come back to the United States? Do you foresee that?
That's a really interesting question. Sorry, I was just making sure I could get my grocery list for the way home.
Right.
Because I'm in a new offices, I'm getting the messages on my phone, and I'm taking this interview on my phone. Yeah. So here's what I think. I think that at the scale that we operate at, it would be difficult to do the fabric printing in the U.S. We strongly feel that there's a benefit to screen printing. Yeah. Still, I know that that's not something that everyone cares a ton about.
And I'll stop you there real quick. Screen printing, guys, is when they have an actual screen that they put ink on and pull down on it, essentially, and it puts it onto your fabric, as opposed to most things these days are going digital, where it's like an actual printer that just slap it on ink. So, big difference there, but go ahead.
And so the challenge there is, right, is that the places that are set up to do the screen printing, or the kinds of fabrics that, and the quality especially, that people have come to expect from Andover, it doesn't exist in the U.S. And frankly, I mean, when's the last time that you've heard somebody go to school for textile science or textile in the U.S.? Yeah. Like, textile in the U.S., you just don't hear people going to school. So, you know, I don't want to rule it out.
You would be called crazy, right? If I was like, yeah, I got my degree in textile engineering, people are like, what? You know,
like. By the way, if you're in the chat, and if you did go to school for textile sciences, textile engineering, design, you know, actually reach out to me, because what we're finding is there are multiple barriers to production in the U.S. One is you have to have that big upfront investment to make sure that you have a facility that can do the quality that you need, and, you know, the scale that you need.
You're talking about $10 million, like. You're talking.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about. Put it this way, you don't just want the scale that will do what you need to do today, but I mean, you and I both have a growth mentality. Yeah. I think that there's so much upside in terms of quilting and in terms of sewing, and I think that if you're not planning for growing your, you know, you're just your business, but your industry, then you're not planning for success.
Right.
So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's true.
Long story short, answer your question. We don't know. I hope that we do, but I don't see it in the immediate future.
Yeah. Well, and like I have thought that probably in the next 20 years, somewhere around there, probably, like, we'll get the ability to print on fabric so good that you could then buy a machine and they would be affordable enough for a quilt store to buy one, and that would then allow you to produce materials and all that. But just the harsh reality of it is that the upfront cost on that won't be public, or won't be, the people who could afford it will be ahead of the game 5 years because they could afford it 5 years prior. It's a harsh reality to it, and it's also, as you've seen in our industry, heavily frowned upon of quilt stores producing their own materials, because then I'm competing with you, and then our business then makes it more difficult to happen because now we're competing.
Yeah, but the thing that I think that's probably also a big impediment, and we've talked about it here, like how I'd love to go and visit these facilities with you, to kind of show you a bit of what's going on.
Backstory there, guys, is if I get invited from Adam to go to Seoul, Korea to see one of these mills, I'm going to take the offer, right? That would be absolutely amazing.
I love it. I mean, I can honestly tell you this. There's so much more than just printing the designs on the fabric, and there are so many more people working on making sure that the quality of what you're getting is what it is. I think I think that it would be an oversimplification to say, it's not like you're getting a printer for your, like a LaserJet printer for your home and just printing out, posters. There's so much more to treating the fabric, to making sure the gray goods are ready to take the dye stuffs, and that I'm not so concerned. How about this? Yes, digital printing is going to be a big part of this industry going forward. There's no doubt about it. But I think that even for digital printing, if you want really good quality fabric, man, there's a lot that goes into that beyond just getting the ink on the.
Well, it's a craft, and your craft, and so that's the reason why it still exists and it still produces, and not that everyone's doing it is because, guys, there's a reason why you shop at a quilt store. It's because you don't get chain store quality, right? Chain stores don't really monitor what they're doing because they're for the masses. It's as cheap as we possibly can get the goods to your house, as opposed to quilt store, it's a luxury version. And on top of that, like, people, if we brought printing back to America, which I hope one day is possible to do, but if we took the facility there in Korea and dropped it into the U.S., fabric would be $50 a year. It would be, just because it takes so much time and energy there. But it's a great question, right? Of like, can we bring them back?
And actually, the one other thing I'll go back to is you mentioned the quality, right? So one of the things that we're really lucky about is my aunt, Tamara, if I don't know you're watching this, but my aunt creates quilts. She makes quilts for the new kids in our family. Awesome. And so one of the greatest joys that I've had is watching my baby learn to crawl on this quilt and actually get use, right? And I think that it's really important that the fabric quality is good and that we make sure that it's safe. Also, that's the other thing. That's something we don't really talk enough about, but you want to make sure that if your loved ones are using these fabrics to make quilts that are supposed to be shared from generation to generation, not only are they going to hold up, but do I really want my grandchild, crawling around on this quilt? And so, that's something that I put a lot of thought into because I see it firsthand.
Yeah, well, it's the truth, guys. It's the truth. This industry is beyond just us. Let's be honest. If you made 10 quilts in your life, that's all the people that you're ever going to give them to in your immediate circle. Now you're going to aunts and uncles, grandparents, cousins. This is a giving industry. But like I said, Adam, here is that we don't want to take up your whole day. We appreciate you and appreciate all your time that you've given us today, and just giving us the insider side of this. Of like, we have this idea like these manufacturers, but there are people behind the manufacturer, or yourself, right? That normal people doing normal things, but it's your craft that you've dedicated yourself to, which makes it absolutely amazing. But it looks like we've answered all the people's questions here on YouTube. We appreciate your time, so I'm going to switch over to the other camera, and then also I'll give you a call after we end this thing as well. Just a big shout out to you guys. And additionally, guys, everyone on YouTube here, make sure you subscribe to Andover's platforms, right? You can check out the website. They have Instagram, Facebook. I'm sure you have all of them, right? YouTube, all those kinds of things. You actually do a wonderful YouTube job. He shows all of the fabrics on his YouTube channel as well. So subscribe to those places. That way you're more in tune with what's going on, for sure.
Awesome. You're the best. Hey, Tiancum, thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
We love you guys.
Awesome. Appreciate you. And then I'll give you a call after this, okay?
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Let's see here, guys. Just logging him off there. So, guys, you got to meet Adam from Andover. Great, great dude. He's actually become more and more of a friend of mine over the last year here. The moral of the story with Andover especially is that, and I've said this to him, like, I feel like Andover's been this really good kept secret, right? In that it's not in every quilt store, it's not everywhere yet, but I truly, truly do believe that Andover is making strides in this industry to be another top dog in the industry. Crazy good people there. Additionally, their designers are some of the best, and one of them that's widely popular is Edita Sitar, which you're going to start seeing more and more of her products come in for us as well. And additionally, just I've always enjoyed working with Andover because they aren't trying to, as you can see with Adam here, not trying to flaunt, not trying to say we're the best, not trying, just they're really pushing for great customer service, great quality goods, and this is what we do, you know, which is so important there. Any questions for me before we jump off here? If not, thank you guys for watching. This will stay on our membership channel for the next while, so if this is you coming in later on, thank you for watching it. And we are going to go from there. If there's no further questions, I'm going to go ahead and log off. Again, thank you, and huge shout out to Andover. And make sure you subscribe to their platforms as well. I've got Brody here on the sidelines. Anything else, Brody? He's saying no. Okay, guys. Thank you so much, and we're going to see you on the next one.